Oh, hey, how you doing today? Like here I am, freaking here you are, or there you are. Um, I thought today it'd be kind of nice just, like to fool around with some stuff, like freaking I got junk, laying around piles of it. Sometimes I acquire so much stuff, and I just got, it's cool to play with. I mean, this is just a TV stand, see, it's got a articulating mount on it and everything like that, so you can like pull it out and make it look the different directions and stuff like that. And it's actually on wheels. I put it on wheels. Originally, it was not on wheels. I just put it on wheels. Got little stops and stuff on them. Freaking da da da. Because freaking like I got this out of a freaking guy's garage sale. He made this so that way he could have a freaking rise up TV mount for his RV, recreational motor vehicle, motorhome, whatever you want to call it, right? And it hid away, and there was this bracketry, that holds, like the TV in place, that screws into here. But instead, I took that off. These dumb bracketry and arms here, freaking used, and I put this little board on here. Anyhow, I'm getting into a lot of dumb detail here. When freaking the point here was supposed to be not so much about this TV stand, but about the science behind it. Because freaking. Like there are different ways to freaking make like things go up and down and stuff like that. And this one, like instead of just using like a standard freaking push, it actually uses a quite unique freaking system of like there are three different types of levers. There's the type where you have the fulcrum in the center, right? And then there's the type where you have the fulcrum all the way to one side, and still like freaking maximized it or something like that. Anywho, and then there's this type. I'm not trying to get into the other two types because the point is this type today. The third type of lever, right? And this type of lever works by maximizing motion instead of effort. So it takes a lot more effort to move this amount of weight, right? Like 4 times as much effort at such and such, configuration and this much freaking effort at this configuration, blah, 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 blah. Like, I didn't do the math for this one exactly, freaking, because this is about 19 inches, from fulcrum to lift point, with the pivot point, freaking, or instance of inflection or whatever it's called. Of like 4 inches, which means that the freaking math on this one freaking is actually kind of maxed out for this freaking lifting device. It says that you're going to need like somewhere around 400. Anywho, but the actual math that I worked out, like earlier before I decided to do this because, like I didn't pre-measure it for some reason, was about a 24-inch long lever, right, with the freaking instance of inflection at 6 inches, which freaking in order to lift 50-pound freaking weight, freaking, like saying, the mechanism plus the TV, give it about 50 pounds, right? So you'd need about 200 pounds of force to lift, freaking at the 6-inch mark, right? And so, but that's why I'm saying this one's much less than the 6-inch mark. This one's at about 4-inch mark plus the freaking, but the overall lever is actually shorter. It's 19 inches instead of 24, which means you'd need a little bit less force, so probably around 400 pounds for this one, so that's why it's got the heavy duty actuator, and the heavy duty actuator freaking, I'm not sure which freaking brand it is and whatever, but it probably could be rated, somewhere in the range of, like 480 upwards of 600 freaking pounds of force, right? So, it works here, and, you see here, we will go ahead and we'll unfurl the massive wire here. Oh, get the and plug that in, right? And you can see here for yourself, I've got it set up so that way it's on a wireless control, or you can press the button, right? And you just watch it, you got a moment of it, like you watch this and then up it goes. So a little bit of motion and a lot of effort makes a lot of movement. Wow. See, I only moved that. That only got 5 inches longer, right? Yet the TV seems to have moved 22 inches higher. So that's a 4-to-1 ratio, right? You know, so my clothes dryer just turned on. Excuse me. That's weird. It does that sometimes. But anywho, yeah, you get that's about a 4-to-1 lifting ratio. You know, so you only have to have that much motion to get that much lift, right? I mean, that is pretty cool. You know, freaking. But you got to have a really strong frame. I mean, this is a heavy-duty, strong frame. Like, wow, that's you know, thick steel and all that. You know, because this is a lot of force. You know, like to try and push this way and wrench that way and freaking and yeah. So, you know, but you know, like also sometimes the point that some people miss with these freaking lifts and stuff like that, and why they aren't that popular in freaking society, is because they often also overlook that freaking, you know, like, you can't be playing with this thing. I mean, this thing's so cool. You want to be like, oh, it's so cool. I mean, you freaking, you like they built freaking car windows so that way you can go like, you know, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, because people tend to play with them every now and then, right? But not these things. No, nobody's ever built a lift that freaking you can go up and down, up and down, up and down. They have a freaking rule of, you know, like freaking the 10% freaking duty cycle, right? For every 2 minutes that it operates, it has to rest for 18. So like it took nearly a minute to go up, right? Geez, that's why you also want to freaking shorten the freaking throw of the ram sometimes, is because, you know, like the longer it takes to freaking to raise something, the freaking, you know, like the less you can freaking make it move. Anywho, but that's the freaking kind of the point there, is like a little bit of movement from the mechanical results in a huge amount for all that. Pretty cool, huh? Anywho, that's the point of that, you know, like freaking, you know, like I did all this freaking stuff, you know, like to freaking to calculate it, you know, like freaking, because the point is, you know, like freaking, if you want to lift 50 pounds, you know, 24 inches, then it's going to be 1,200 inch-pounds of force, right? And if your moment of inflection is 6 inches from your fulcrum point out there, right? Then that means that you're going to need 200 pounds of force, you know, for 1,200 freaking inch-pounds divided by 6 inches equals 200 pounds of force needed to lift if this was 24 inches long. So, you know, like all those kinds of things are freaking what to keep in mind here, you know, freaking, but, you know, like if you move the freaking, this out here further, right, then it's going to take less force, but you're going to need a longer traveling ram, right? You know, so sometimes it's not necessarily always about, you know, like what you want to move, it's about what you have to do the job, you know, if freaking you're trying to salvage parts, you know, and build something out of scraps, right? You know, because this is some drawer slides and some freaking channel metals and stuff like that. And I'm not the one that built it. The freaking, you know, like I knew the old guy that freaking built this stuff. He was freaking kind of cool. He liked to build freaking go-karts and other stuff like that. He lived just down around the corner here from me. Freaking, I got this from freaking when he was, you know, like getting rid of all of his junk when he was moving out of his house a few years ago, and freaking, yeah. Bought freaking a big old giant air compressor and some other stuff that freaking hasn't panned out all that well, because like freaking the air compressor worked for a little while freaking, but then the the compressor blew up, and I had to, man, I was lucky I wasn't in my garage at the time when it was freaking compressing. It just and threw shrapnel everywhere. I mean, I found pieces embedded in stuff freaking in my garage. It was kind of funny, you know, like, I mean, because yeah, plastic covers. Anywho, because, you know, like, anywho, I can go into freaking stories all day long. Freaking, we're supposed to be staying focused on this, if not freaking something else. If not, I've already freaking drifted off too much. And freaking, if you're still freaking watching, that's good for you, because freaking, I don't know if I've been interesting enough, you know, because freaking, you know, like, this is supposed to be a freaking a little bit of a freaking math lesson, freaking, to get you to freaking be interested in freaking, like, thinking about freaking, you know, like basic freaking engineering principles of freaking, you know, triangulation of forces and stuff like that, and application of freaking, blah 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 blah. I don't know all the dang terms all the dang time. I just freaking build stuff, and I freaking get that this is how this freaking works, and I know that works, and freaking somehow I understand it. And usually the best way to freaking understand something is to watch it work, and to freaking to. I mean, a little bit of motion, a lot of motion. And knowing freaking how far certain things need to travel, because you saw that went all the way to the edge and then came back to the center, right? And watch it again. Goes to the edge. And back to center. There. Anywho, I can't play with that anymore because, like I said, 2 minutes and then freaking 18 minutes needs to rest. So this thing's probably freaking, yeah, it doesn't need to be freaking stressed out anymore. So just remember, math is math, and it's complicated as long as you make it complicated. But sometimes it's actually quite simple to just a little bit of trial and error. Sometimes, sometimes people get frustrated because they don't freaking read the instructions and freaking forget that their, motors have duty cycles and stuff like that. My welder frustrates me all the dang time with that freaking cycling out. Freaking, you get welding and then all of a sudden it freaking overheats and you're like, oh, shoot, I forgot. I need to freaking set a timer or something like that and go beep, beep, beep and tell me to stop freaking welding. Anywho, much like some of this stuff, freaking, and that's why it's got a fuse in line and freaking you use the motor relay and stuff like that, and freaking use a proper freaking power supply. Freaking this one is not exactly a proper power supply because this freaking thing is supposed to be freaking for 5 amps. This thing's only rated for 4.2. Anywho, but freaking I wasn't the one that built it, but it's still pretty well built for freaking. And that's why I freaking grabbed it from the guy's garage sale for $50, because I was like, I thought I was going to cut it into scraps. Never used the thing for anything, and now here I am. I've mounted a TV on it, put some freaking caster wheels, and freaking now I'm freaking going like, yeah, this thing might actually be useful for something around my freaking shop or my freaking work area here or something like that. Freaking because well, yeah, right. Anywho. So, if you like that, freaking, and you want to see more, freaking, freaking, or you just like seeing my face and watching me freaking, ramble on about different freaking stuff, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time, freaking, later, guys.